I think I'd like for you to talk more about when we think of body work. I understand what um, I understand what that means, but what does body work mean to you? And it's not a term that everyone's familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when I say body work, I'm talking about massage. I went to a school that teaches, it's called Neurosomatic Therapy, Center for Neurosomatic Sciences, and it's very much a therapeutic massage. It's clinical massage is what they would call it. You're measuring points on the body to see where there's imbalances. Those imbalances inform you where to go to bring the body back to balance. It's really amazing, even just what we learned there, which doesn't really go deep into the fascia. It doesn't go into the emotions. It did
Mm-hmm.
go into like organs and intraoral work, working on the cranium, like really cool in-depth stuff. To where it just understanding that again, if you're in pain, you're getting a signal something's going on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And we should listen.
Sometimes
We should listen to that signal.
yeah, that the type of body work I learned was learning how to understand that there's so many different interpretations of that. Like our whole body is like a universe, literally just billions and trillions of things going on. And sometimes you just need to like loosen up a little bit here, loosen up a little bit down here, touch someone's, stomach a little bit and all their symptoms go away. Or there's trigger points, right? Like you could be feeling pain down here on your wrist, like, and it's coming from in your armpit, right? So there's a lot of cool stuff with that kind of clinical or like really well educated body work where it's not just like smoothing things out. Like there's things like just physical touch, right? Like just
Mm-hmm.
having a nice massage where even if it's just your partner touching you, you're co-regulating, you're getting you're touching someone's touching you, your receptors are going off, your brain can literally locate itself better, right? This is some of the nerdy stuff I learned when I was a personal trainer focusing on neurology. Is like sometimes there's pain because the brain literally just doesn't know where the physical body is in space, and we get information through something called mechanoreceptors. There's lots of them around joints. So just touching, let's say this knee hurts, touching it, moving it a certain way, gives information or input. That input goes from your knee to your spine up to your brain. It can then be interpreted. You get like a map, like, oh, okay, I feel someone doing this. I feel someone squeezing it. And it's like, I have something there. And it could stop. Like, I've had people get out of pain in minutes from like just doing something simple like that. We're showing them how to move their body part. um,
Right.
so yeah, so when I say body work, I use it under licensure to like just be able to kind of explore with people. I don't do a ton of just massage sessions. I might be working with understandings of the nervous system, which is like doing some breath work or doing some vision, yeah, eye drills, inner ear work, understanding how to tension nerves, something called nerve flossing and gliding, and then also under the fascia work, I'll help them move their fascia. I might help them move some organs, do some organ work. Yeah, so that's what I mean when I say body work.
Yeah. So, what I've experienced since I've been doing your fascia flow classes, um, just to connect it back, I think sometimes some of the work that you do, some of the work that I do, can kind of get a little woo-woo judgment from people. I don't think until you go through the experience yourself,
Yeah,
you really understand what like what is actually happening. And so when I describe like my experiences when I'm taking your class, what I notice in myself is it's first slowing down. Like that's the very first thing is just you're going through life, you're going through your day, you're doing a million, you're working, you're doing all the things you need to do. And like when I stop and actually slow down and listen, it's like, oh, like this is life changing. Just for
yeah,
45 minutes a day, you just have to stop everything, turn off all your devices, and then just pay attention to your body.
yeah,
And it's such a simple concept if you really just break it down and bring it back to bring it back to how you're feeling. I would
Yeah.
say, I would say physically, how are you feeling? What is your emotionally, is there anything coming up for you right now? I think there's so many signals going on in your body at a
Yeah.
time that it becomes like,
It's a lot to perceive.
yes,
It's
yes.
overwhelming. So
Hmm.
when I talk about this, our perception will give our experience, right? So the amount you're able to perceive as happening will give you the level of experience you're happening. And that could even inform your belief and it can inform everything. So when you talk about woo, um, I think it's an encompassing kind of term that can be used derogatory, but I think more nowadays it's like what hasn't been proven, and actually a lot's being proven. Um, so when I think of the woo of this, like myself, when I got really deep in, when I really started doing Human Garage, I found them on YouTube. I had
Hmm.
recognized the name because I had understood that a few people that did the neurology work with Z Health worked in their clinic when it was a physical location called the Human Garage. And I was like, oh, cool. I know there's someone who does what I do there. That's neat because they're really good at that. And they work with professional athletes, and I do something that someone else does that's really impactful. I'm like, neat.
Hmm.
So you just remember a specific name. Um, Shortly after COVID started, Human Garage came up with these fascial maneuvers as a self care practice, and it was for free on YouTube, a 15-minute video called The Stress Reset. At that time, when I found that, I was coming out of the stress of COVID. I had had a major concussion again, and I had gone through so many concussions in concussion rehab that I was really down. I mean, we're talking I could barely just sit on the couch and watch TV, and I would cry and not be able to do anything I could do. It was very emotional. And I got so overwhelmed with things, my perception of life, just having a brain injury, had no emotional regulation, that one night I ended up doing Wim Hof breathing, which is just hyperventilating. And I was able to understand. I'm like, oh, okay, I know how much breathing regulates the nervous system. I know so much about it. This is interesting. I'm hyperoxygenating. I'm holding my breath. I know I'm lighting up so many different parts of my brain and brainstem. I'm uptaking oxygen through my body signaling for so much CO2. Like I was like, oh, nerding out. This is cool.
Hmm.
Then I started doing Human Garage as my one thing. That was the breath work was my kind of bridge to that because they would do some of the similar breathing techniques. It's just not as effortful and you're moving your body. And I started to perceive the world differently. All I did was these videos and my emotional capacity would change. My pain would go down. I could get back into noticing my body dealing with stuff the way I could before because I was already a very aware person. And it was very strange for me because I didn't do anything I had learned you need to do to rehab your brain and these things. And I was like, okay. So really, when you decrease stress, there's more available, there's more resources available in your system for your vision, your hearing, anything. You're out of stress, you're more aware of what's around you. So these exercises are actually they increase your perception. If you do enough of this work, let's say you're doing 15 minutes of increasing your perception every day, whether it's through meditation or breathing exercises or my neighbors playing loud music, you become more aware of things. And
Hmm.
so at a certain point, when you do this enough, you start just noticing different things. And so it goes back in. If you perceive it, you experience it, you believe it. And it's this cycle of, okay, every time I do the fifth or sixth fascial maneuver, I feel really tingly, I feel really good, I forget the things I was worrying about, the plants look greener, life feels better. I'm like, okay, well, I'm perceiving that, I'm experiencing that, I believe that this is working. And then your belief slowly transitions into faith, just knowing, right? Just like with a religion or anything. So when someone talks about woo, they usually haven't had that lived experience. They haven't had something that helped them build a perception of something that you is beyond our sight and our touch and the basics. There's the amount of the spectrum of light we perceive is what 1% of what's actually out there. Microscopic organisms, things like that. We're full of how many billions of bacteria, and our bacteria has bacteria. We're basically made of water, sand, and bacteria and bugs.
Mhm.
Like, what we think we know is our biggest limitation to our experience. And so, yeah, when people use terms like woo, I think it encompasses something huge. There's so much out there. Um, and I'm at the point now with these exercises where I will perceive other people's pain in my body. I feel their body energetically communicating with mine, however you want to say it, whether it's their soul
Yes.
or whatever. But we have an electromagnetic field. Our fascia is made mostly of water and minerals, which can hold electromagnetic energy. And so I'm doing exercises that release that. And as I've done that more, I perceive more things. We're like, I mean, physics. It's all showing it. Quantum physics. Everything's starting to back this up. And just because we can't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. And I think what's interesting is this is something you and I have touched on a few times together is if you're not aware that this is even an option, you don't even if all your doctor is telling you is surgery, here's the medication, this is your solution, and you know simple things that you could do to your daily lifestyle, decreasing stress, going outside for a walk, hydrating, like the
Yeah.
most basic fundamentals aren't discussed,
No.
which
No.
is
It's insane. It's enraging. I think people like you and me had to discover it through like the old
hey, stop it.
school of hard knocks, or just through experience.